Hello, and welcome back to the Dossier Project. We are here talking about the traits that make a DOS woman. And the trait that we're going to speak about this month is going to be ethics. So we'll talk about what we think ethics is, give a few examples of that, and then share our experiences from DOS that helped us to build ethics in the process. If you guys are liking this content, please go ahead and like. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And if you feel like it might be helpful to someone else, go ahead and share the content. Besides that, let's go ahead and jump in. What do you guys think ethics is in your experience?
I can start. Yeah, this one has changed quite a bit for me in the years I've been thinking about it and experiencing it. And I think at the beginning, I felt and thought that ethics had something to do, and I still do, something to do with doing things the right way, or I connected it a lot to like honesty, or like someone who's ethical, for example, to me would be someone that is honest, or that is, someone doing kind of good things in the world. I would think as of them as an ethical person. And then as the years have gone by, I think I've refined it more, and I feel that ethics for me now has a lot to do with the right thing to do, but not necessarily like, good or bad, but it's more like, is it aligned with the things that I say are important to me? So if I say, I'm pro health and I'm all about my health, and there's certain places where I'm eating right, I'm eating the things that are good for my body, but I'm not exercising, for example, right? So for me, those two things, like, okay, I'm being ethical, or I'm doing an ethical decision where I'm taking care of my body in the way that I eat, but it's an unethical decision, not exercising, because it damages my body in a certain way, if that makes sense. So I feel like it has a lot to do, for me, it has a lot to do with being consistent with what I say is important to me.
Yeah, for me, it is also about that consistency. And I think it's where not based on, something that can change, very like your feelings or your thoughts about it. It's not something that flip-flops. It has a consistency either to a value or a principle or something that is more like clear standards or objectives, or something that is beyond just the immediate place and time. It's being ethical. That means it says like the way the person behaves is consistent, whether or not they're talking to different people, or their standards are not paying, like it's opposite of like favoritism or subjective. I'm going to give you this raise because I like you, as opposed to being based on objective standards. Maybe there's like how to evaluate decisions is in a process that is more, I think, objective, or the values, or something that is beyond just the immediate feelings or how much you like.
You agree? It seems to be like a set of standards that determines someone's behaviors or conduct, basically. But I do think they're subjective in the sense that they're based on a person's principles, or on a person's values. So I do think there can people can have different kind of sets of ethics, and I do think ethics has a lot more to do with like the why you do things and the evaluation of what's right and wrong. And so it not being so much of like a external rule, like someone told me I shouldn't do this, so I won't do it. It's more of like, I don't believe in this, and so I won't do it. But it's a deeper evaluation. So what I mean is, like, for example, like lying, right? It's like it's bad. I consider it a bad thing, or not good, or the wrong thing. But like, for example, this is a very extreme case, but if the Nazis are knocking on your door and you have some Jews, in your living room and they ask you about the Jews, do you tell them or don't you tell them? So to me, ethics goes a little bit like deeper. It's not about lying or not lying. It's kind of the why. It's what's behind it. What am I trying to uphold? But I do think it's subjective, and it's an ongoing process that kind of refines, and that through your experiences, you get to test and you get to then, whether you're ethical or not is determined on whether you're upholding or living out the things that you say are important to you.
Yeah, I think similarly, there's a few things that I find is similar to what you ladies have said in my experience. I guess when I first thought of ethics, I almost thought more of morality, which I guess, there's like a template or a consciousness or a feeling in your body that's usually based on your previous experiences. And I think that's why, a lot of you have said it's based on somebody's principles or values, but I think that's really the basis of it, is that we all do have different experiences. We've all been hurt in different ways or hurt other people in different ways. And therefore our ethics or our morals are shaped slightly differently. So Angelica, I liked what you said, because as you start to, or as I guess I should say for myself, as I've started to kind of find more of myself, you realize you're different from a lot of other people. Like your experiences are very different. And then there's not just a black and white ethics of what's right and what's wrong, but every different person has these different experiences that have made up their life and made up what's important to them and what they value, why they value it, why not. So that's why it's fascinating to get to know people. But I do think that in addition to the morality piece and your individual experience and being true to that, being consistent or integrous, I think is also another piece. And that's where I think the measurement comes in with ethics. And I think that's what makes it different from morality, where there is and Linda, you mentioned this, a consistency in your behavior, which I think has to do with the integrity piece. You could have the moral or have the ethic, but do you have the character to uphold it? Or do you have the consistency to uphold the character to uphold it consistently? And there's a measurement piece to that over time, and in different scenarios. So I think your example, Linda, is also a good one, that can you be consistent for multiple people in different situations, like in a legal situation, for instance. Like, just because you like a person and you don't like another person, do they get treated the same way in your world? Or does one get special treatment? Does one get special privileges because you like them more, or they're pretty, or they're sweet? Or are they all held to the same standard in your business, for instance, or in your friendships? And I think that speaks to the nature of ethics. So I don't know if you ladies have any specific examples that have shaped your ethics, maybe even some things from DOS that have shaped your ethics, but or just explorations or experiences you've had that have helped you develop this definition of ethics for yourself.
And I was thinking, and I think I've brought this decision in past videos, but it's one that I tell a lot because it's super clear to me. Then it's the choosing to eat a vegetarian diet, and that has shifted so much. Also, it started being like, I didn't want to kill animals, and I was like, okay, well then I'll just do it. And then it started, I started having children, and then, do I raise them in a vegetarian diet or not? Why? And I think that speaks, Sahajo, to what you were saying. I didn't realize really how much it's all about the why. Like, why are you doing it? Is it, because I made a rule of myself, or for myself, sorry, that I shouldn't never kill animals? But is it, it came to a point where one of my children, he was developing a lot of allergies and he had asthma. And I thought, could it be that he needs something different? Could it be that he needs animal fat? And like, there were some things that I read that, it could be that a different diet might help him. So then I was like, okay, how do I see this? It's for his health. So what's more important to me, the not killing or his health? Can I uphold both? Can I not? So it's all this process. And I think DOS helped me with, is this a word in English? Just tell me, discernment? Like being able,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you. Yeah, so discernment. I think through DOS, I was able to look at myself more deeper, I guess, or deeper. And from that place, I was able to uphold certain things that I chose that were important to me and not make them just like clear cut. It's like, exactly, Danielle, it's not black or white. It has all sorts of nuances, and not every situation is the same, not every person is the same. So I was forced in a way to look at my child. He's different, he's a person, and would I be hurting him, or one of my highest values, which is to have him be thriving human being in all ways, would I be supporting that if I didn't change his diet and things like that? So I think DOS helped me really look more deeply and more like make finer distinctions in the ways that I chose to live my life. That's one example for
I
me.
think for myself, a lot of DOS was setting goals, like setting myself, certain goals that I wanted, and then having certain exercises to build certain things. And then there was a lot of failure. And so whenever there was failure, my master would come to me and always come with, how will you fix this? So every time I failed, and I failed a lot, it gave me the opportunity to really look at what was going on for me. Why, what were the excuses, the justifications I used to not do it? And so it helped me to really go deeper into the why of why I was doing things. And, I thought it was interesting with you bringing up like with the vegetarian, because I myself am too, but I know one area that I really struggle with is mosquitoes like that. And, and then every time
You like
it's
to
like
eat them, Sahasha?
I don't want to eat them. I want to kill them. I want to smack them, and it's like every time, like, and that's where I'm like, okay, well, is my ethic not killing animals? Well, if it is, then, obviously I'm not upholding that or not consistent with that, and so I think in DOS, there was a lot of these opportunities of finding these gray zones, I guess, these areas where, like, because I think we all have these principles and ethics, but then we always have these excuses where, like, well, in this case, but because of this or because of that, and then, we have justifications, whether it's with ourselves or towards other people, or we like them or we don't, so we bend, I guess, our ethics on a consistent basis. And DOS was a way for me to confront those areas where I do bend my ethics and where I do like have these gray zones that I kind of, don't want to look at it. So it helped me to understand myself better, explore better, challenge myself, confront myself, and get to know myself better.
As you're talking, I can't help but think about like the inner honesty principles that were so instilled in ESP and in DOS, because it's like ethics are difficult from that perspective. I mean, Angie and Sahajo, you both just hit the major opposite ends of the spectrum, which is, Angie, you touched on ethics are not rules. They do change in different situations. Like maybe I won't eat meat, but if I'm dying of a disease and I need more protein, maybe I will decide to eat meat. So there are situations where we may choose to do that. And now, Sahajo, you touch on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is we're kind of constantly shape-shifting our ethics to sometimes to make our life easier, which is not necessarily an ethic, or because it feels uncomfortable to uphold that ethic in front of those people, or, whatever it might be. So I think it takes a tremendous amount of inner honesty to navigate really building ethics. And I think the other piece that I really realized through ESPN DOS was the inner honesty and the lack of punishment that's necessary. Because I think it's so difficult to build your own set of ethics if you can't explore yourself. You've got to be able to make mistakes. You've got to be able to experience this, experience that, and go like, did I like this? Why? Why not? Did I not like this? Why? Why not? And if you're constantly being punished by a parent or a mentor or a partner or a whatever, or yourself, yes, or yourself, nice job, Angie, or yourself, if you haven't kind of evolved that punishment postulate or that relationship with punishment, then you have all these rigid rules that you're abiding by. You can't ever really find who you are or what your ethics are. And I've recently been experiencing that much more. And it's freeing, but it's also like you can start to develop a sense of you that's more solid. And I think DOS helped me with that because I didn't experience a lot of punishment or rules. Similarly, I was always pointed to, well, why? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why do you want that? Which was super uncomfortable because like there are some answers that you don't want to be honest with yourself about, you know, but I think it does help us to really build a person in there, you know, not just a robot or a set of rules.
I today came across a Cherokee. Sorry, how do you say this? Cherokee?
Karaoke? Is it the
Karaoke?
singing
Okay,
thing?
I'm sorry.
The singing thing?
No. The
Cherokee?
Cherokee.
the
Cherokee.
Native American tribe. I apologize.
Cherokee.
Cherokee. Okay, I came across a Cherokee proverb today that I shared in another group, which I think is very appropriate to the ethics this discussion. So I'd like to share it. And it says, "There is a battle of two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, lies, inferiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy, and truth. The wolf that wins is the one that you feed." Cherokee proverb. I don't know. It feels like to me it's this internal battle, right? It's right and wrong, like this internal, subjective internal kind of struggle between what's the right thing and what's the wrong thing, and navigating that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Sahaja. And I think it's also super important that we recognize that both forces are inside us. And that is meant to be, you know, we're human. We are not supposed to experience just like good. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I speak for myself, like I've always thought that there was something wrong if I felt all these emotions, you know, like all the what they call the evil emotions, and it was wrong and it wasn't supposed to be. And then, but I was feeling them, you know, and what do you do with that? So I think it's also beautiful. And I like how, Danielle, how you touched on how was your experience in DOS. And I agree, I didn't experience punishment when I was in DOS. It was always questioning, you know, okay, like, well, you've said these are the important things to you. Why did you choose this? You know, why are you feeling jealous? Why are you feeling envious? Like, what is the, you know, the thread here? And recognizing that we have both wolves inside of us helps us reconcile and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to choose this time. And questioning ourselves always, well, why am I choosing that? So just, you know, just bringing it back to there's light and dark in everything we experience, and that's not something that's wrong or bad, but it is something that we can choose from. And I do think that from experiencing this, however we want to call them, negative emotions, darkness or whatever, we can actually like open up and be like, okay, no, this is, at least that's been for me, right? This is not what I want. And then you connect deeper to your principle of what do you want and how do you want to build. And I can say my master was a master in helping me through these things. It's like, okay, now you recognize what you want to build. Okay, then let's help you do that.
I mean, most of the time I experience like a lot of relationships, people are just wanting you to be how they want you to be. So they punish you when you're not the way that you want them to be, you know, or you step outside of their box. But to have somebody who genuinely is on your team like that is so cool. This was a great discussion. We are going to talk about another trait next week. I can't remember what it is. It's a surprise.
Discipline.
But discipline. But yeah, if you guys have any experiences with ethics, you have your own internal struggles with ethics, we would love to hear about them. Share your stories with us. Again, like, subscribe, comment, share, and we'll grow our ethics together. Have a great day.